Something extremely disturbing is happening in Iran, and it's not what you think. It's not a missile strike. It's not a ground invasion. It's something far more dangerous, far more patient, and far more calculated. What we're about to find out is that Iran has already lost this war militarily. Its navy is gone. Its air force has been eliminated. Its missile and drone capabilities have been reduced to roughly 10% of their original capacity. By every conventional measure, the regime in Tehran is finished. And yet, they're still hanging on. They're still refusing ceasefire talks, still launching limited attacks on their neighbors. And now we know why. And that is what we're about to find out. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are now officially in day 26 of Operation Epic Fury, and what many are calling the first fifth generational war. This war, for the first time, has gone beyond the traditional three dimensions of land, sea, and air, and is extending into the domains of cyberspace and even outer space itself. Epic Fury uniquely fused cyber, satellite, and psychological tactics alongside conventional strikes. For example, one of the things we did is we hijacked the Bade Saba prayer app to deliver psychological warfare messages directly to Iranian citizens' phones, encouraging internal rebellion. It's astonishing stuff. Others are calling it multi-domain warfare or AI-centric warfare or an algorithmic battlefield, again emphasizing the centrality of Space Force AI Maven targeting and a rapid kill chain compression. By any objective measure, Iran has been militarily obliterated. In just the opening weeks of the U.S.-Israeli campaign, the coalition conducted nearly 900 coordinated strikes. They hit over 1,500 targets, destroyed more than 100 naval vessels. They eliminated dozens upon dozens of senior regime figures. For example, just today, it's just been announced that the general behind the closing of Hormuz, General Alireza Tangsiri, was the latest to be eliminated in an Israeli strike. The United States and Israel have achieved what no coalition has achieved in the modern era: complete air supremacy over a regional adversary. And to that end, Trump's strategic agenda was never vague. It was stated explicitly on March 1st. It was reinforced again over and over in the subsequent days. There are four clear objectives here: destroy Iran's missile launch capability, eliminate its air forces and air defenses, destroy the Iranian Navy, and dismantle all nuclear fabrication plants and scientific infrastructure, setting back their bomb program by, at minimum, a decade. That agenda has been executed with extraordinary precision. Iran's military capabilities are now effectively inert. And yet, despite all that, the regime refuses to fall. And this is because the regime has always had a backup plan, which we've talked about in other videos. And of course, the Trump administration is fully aware of it. It's called the Mosaic. The Mosaic is the basic protocol of what the Revolutionary Guard is supposed to do in the event of the entire Iranian leadership getting wiped out. So if command and control breaks down, then the Revolutionary Guard is supposed to break up, fragment into 31 separate units, one each assigned to Iran's 31 provinces, each commanding local brigades, battalions, Basiji units with near total autonomy. And the explicit design was this: if Tehran's command structure gets destroyed, the regime doesn't freeze, it fragments. It fragments and it keeps fighting. Each piece keeps shooting. Each piece keeps repressing. Each piece keeps projecting order without waiting for instructions from the center. So this is, again, what's called the Mosaic defense or the Mosaic strategy. And here's the critical insight here. The key takeaway is the fact that if the IRGC disperses into the Mosaic formation as it has, it is an admission that their entire leadership has been wiped out. So this is why many analysts believe there is no Ayatollah right now. There is no supreme leader. Mojtaba is either dead or in a coma or incapacitated in some way, but it's the IRGC, it's the Revolutionary Guard military that is, through this mosaic, running Iran to the extent that they can. So when Iran still fires all these sporadic and miscellaneous missile attacks that seem to have no rhyme or reason, you see, they're admitting that their leadership was completely wiped out. And all they have are these 31 separate fragmented units, substantially isolated from one another, and they're just basically making it up as they go along at this point. But that said, this is where their strategy really does come to the fore. The mosaic formation for Iran was never about trying to win this war militarily against the United States and Israel. Again, once they split apart into these 31 separate units, they've really lost the capacity for any kind of major coordinated strike. They know they can't win militarily. That's not the point. Iran's real strategy is more psychological, political, and temporal. And there's three things to keep in mind there. First and foremost, they know that what they have to do to survive is to outlast Trump. They know that. Victor Davis Hanson has been talking about this. The Iranian regime has calculated, based on 7 consecutive U.S. presidents who never meaningfully retaliated, not after Beirut or the Khobar Towers or after the USS Cole or a decade of proxy warfare. They believe Trump is an aberration in light of that. He's a temporary disruption. So if they can just last the next 2.5 years, they believe someone else will be sitting in the Oval Office. And that's whoever that is, they will default to the same appeasement strategy that so many of Trump's predecessors pursued. And so to that end, if they're going to survive and weather the storm of Trump, they believe they need to win the PR war so as to stop this bombardment as soon as possible. Iran is deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure, hotels in Dubai, airports in Qatar, residential high-rises in Tel Aviv. This is the Hamas model. Provoke a response, absorb the punishment, film the suffering that they experience and that's experienced around the region, and then let the global media, who they know are on their side, they know they hate Trump just as much as the regime does, and you just let the global media do the rest. They're betting that moral outrage at civilian casualties will turn the American public against the campaign before the regime itself collapses. And then comes the third leg to this strategy, and that is the most disturbing of them all. Speaking of it, if a nuke does go off, God forbid, you know what? You better have this. If the power shuts down and there's no heat, this is going to be your lifesaver, because if you can believe it, inside this tiny little orange bag, almost by magic, is an emergency sleeping bag that reflects your heat back onto you so you stay warm even when it's freezing outside. You will not believe how warm this emergency sleeping bag is. It's so small, as you can see here, that it actually fits into your glove compartment or it can fit in your handbag, and it's meant to be life-saving. It'll keep you warm down to literally Arctic temperatures. It's absolutely amazing. It's waterproof, it's windproof, bright orange, so it can be spotted from far up in the sky. It's made up of this weird space tech fabric that stretches and reflects your heat back onto you. And it keeps you warm even when the power's off, the heat is out, or, you're trapped in a blizzard or some kind of in the middle of nowhere. So right now, they are flying off the shelf due to the civil unrest, the natural disasters, the man-made crises, and war that's happening all over the earth. If you're concerned with where things are headed, but don't know what your first step should be, this is it. The emergency sleeping bag is recommended by emergency experts around the world, used by hundreds of thousands of people, and saves countless lives every single year. Waiting does nothing. Taking action so you have this when your family needs it, that's the best step you can take today. And since these are on sale, you might as well get the best price we've ever done. Click below to see this huge sale for yourself. Here are the details. Right now, they're marked down over 59% with free shipping on multi-packs. Get your family ready today and save a bundle before the sale ends. Oh, and I almost forgot, the 10-pack ships free, so that doubles up your savings. Make sure your family has real protection when it matters most. Click on that link below right now. So if they survive Trump, which they can do if they put enough pressure by winning the PR battle, which will force Trump to withdraw early, if they do that, then third, the regime can reconstitute. Even if the current infrastructure is destroyed, the regime believes that it can use oil revenue to purchase new weapons from Russia, North Korea, and China, rebuild its drone production lines, and eventually produce a nuclear weapon using whatever fissile material remains hidden deep into the Iranian mountains. That's the disturbing thing. It's not what Iran is doing now per se. It's what Iran is planning for afterwards. The remnants of the regime are determined to make a comeback, a return, when they can finally exact their full and awful revenge. Now, here's what gives me genuine hope and why Iran's calculations look to be catastrophically wrong. A number of war analysts are saying it plainly. Iran has fundamentally misread this president. Trump's position on Iran has never shifted. He's demanding nothing less than a full-blown regime change here. He doesn't care who takes the place of the mullahs in the military, as long as they're ready to play ball according to our rules and the rules of the Abraham Accords. All of this military obliteration is a concerted defanging effort. And once the beast is defanged, he's harmless. And once perceived as harmless, he's no longer feared. And the people will rise up to kill it. And so there's no indication whatsoever at the White House, or there's no indication whatsoever that the White House is blinking here. In fact, quite the opposite. Right now, the current deployment of Marine units and the 82nd Airborne Brigade combat team to the region is not posturing. It's a signal. But don't confuse that with a large-scale ground invasion force. Again, all analysts are noting we don't need to do that. Not in the age of fifth-generational warfare. Iran has no remaining offensive capability. They're being rendered increasingly harmless, and it's just a matter of time before the Iranian people see that. The real pressure now is economic. Iran's last significant leverage is the Strait of Hormuz, right? As you know, the narrow choke point through which 20% of the world's oil supply passes. They will use it to spike energy prices, manufacture economic pain, and hope that pain becomes a political liability for Trump before the midterms. The Democrats are certainly doing everything they can to help them on that. So they're betting on the clock, but they're at the same time betting against Donald J. Trump. And if the last 10 years have taught us anything, that is a fool's bet for sure. One of the easiest ways to support this channel is through the Turley Talks store. Great merch, great values. Click the link below and shop today.